Hi guys, it's great to be back. So it's amazing to have another stream, as well as we have here Ace, the actor, movement specialist, as well as many many things that he can do, as well as he'll have an amazing presentation for acting for games, also for movies, and I will let him introduce himself.
What's going on, everyone? How you doing, guys? My name is Ace Ruele, and I am an actor that specializes in motion capture for film and video games. So a lot of what I do is, when it comes to me especially, is a lot of creature acting. That's what I really specialize in, and movement. So I help other actors to create movement for stuff. So idols for video games, and also I do a lot of creature performance with my equipment. So I also build my equipment. So I'm very known on the circuit as an actor that specializes in creature work and having my own equipment, such as arm extensions, leg extensions, and everything to be able to create the best form of performance for creatures, as well as being a movement specialist. As I said, I help other actors as well as help other people that are producing work with movement, help to create movement for stuff. So that's what I do.
Perfect. So we're going with the break now, so we can change the screen and get back to you in 30 seconds.
So first of all, what I want to do with everyone first is basically break down how I got into motion capture, because my first start to motion capture was not through the direct route. And what I was just a normal general actor, and I was an actor that trained in physical theater. And how I got into motion capture is when I was trying to find myself around 2014, when I was trying to find myself as an actor and how to get really into it. I became an extra. So I wanted to understand how movie sets work. How does everything work? Then I had no idea how I was going to venture. I had no idea that I was going to be into video games at all. I was just more focused on film, because that was what I was always a big fan of. And I ended up being an extra, and my friend, I remember my friend, I always have to tell the story. My friend said to me that they're looking for people to play warriors for the Legend of Tarzan. And this was back in 2014. And in 2014, he said, yeah, they're looking for a lot of black actors to play the warriors, because it's supposed to be like you're in Africa and everything. So I said, yes, put me down, because, he told me the money was good. And then when I put myself down to be one of the warriors, I ended up auditioning to play the Manjanis. Now, the Manjanis were the apes of Tarzan, the ape family of Tarzan. So I assume, because of my resume of physical theater, and because I come from a dance background, I assume that's the reason why I was put forward for this. So, and from that step, because I was one of those actors that was very method. So I knew when the creative director, the movement coach, said you had to be an ape, I knew I was one of those actors where I was going to be an ape straight away, and I had to learn how to use arm extensions. So my first experience with arm extensions, which is used on Planets of the Apes and to play creatures that are quadruped, was on Legend of Tarzan in the audition process. After the audition process of getting through and becoming an actor on that, I then was the background apes. And because of my movement and my skills and what I'm grateful to have, I was upgraded to a full-on contract. So I ended up doing the motion capture for the mother ape, the father ape. I done the motion capture for some of the, but still for the background apes. I then went on to do the motion capture for the lions. So there's the big lion scene where the lion rubs heads with Alexander Skarsgård, the main actor that plays Tarzan, and I became that actor that rubbed head with the actor as well. So for me, that was the first taste that I got on motion capture, because before that, I always thought that motion capture was something that I didn't even know about motion capture. I just thought all creatures and animals and all of these characters that had like special powers or anything was all CGI, meaning it was never human. It was all hand animation. And it wasn't until mocap that I discovered, okay, yes, it is actual human beings playing stuff. And I said to myself, this is exactly what I want to do, because I've always wanted to incorporate my dance with my acting and be physical, because acting for me, head up for me, it was never something that I was very passionate about. I love movement. And then after 2014, the film went on to 2016. We had 2 years of reshoots. And it was from then that I started to try to figure out, okay, how am I going to get into motion capture? And what I discovered about motion capture is a very niche market. So it's very niche. The same people are being hired to act. And I remember sending emails to all the studios, Centroid, Audio Motion over here in the UK, because our main studios is Audio Motion, Imaginarium, Creative Assembly, and Centroid, if I didn't mention. So those were the main 4 studios. And I used to email them, and I never got through. And then I joined LinkedIn and I messaged every single person in every studio until I got a message back from Imaginarium's the vice president. I got my first audition for Planet of the Apes, the first Final Frontier, which I never done that one. I got to the finals, but because of what I produced in the audition, the first game that I done for motion capture was Planet of the Apes VR, which was the first VR of Planet of the Apes. And from then is when I just basically developed my name, and I recognized that because it was such a small niche and it was very limited of very small amount of black actors that was involved, I decided to go down that route, and I used my creature way of getting in. So from that, I've worked on a lot of stuff. So we're talking about Planet of the Apes VR, The Impatient. I've done some work with Dan Butters. I can't say the name. I've done some work with Improbable. Can't say the name. I've done Damon 1988, and then I've done Film Legend of Tarzan. I just done The Eternal, which was more VFX referencing. So what I really want to do with this presentation is basically 2 things. I want to break down to people that might be watching what is motion capture first, because a lot of people they hear about motion capture and they may not know exactly how it all goes down and what it all entails, but I'm going to give you my story from an actor's perspective. So with this presentation, it's called Becoming CGI. So one of the main things is it's about understanding what motion capture is. So as an actor, you have to understand exactly what you're getting into, because in motion capture, there is no on-set. Unless you're going to be on set using VFX references cameras where the suit will be different, which I will explain in this presentation. Most of the motion capture you're going to do, especially for video games, is going to be in the studio, and you're going to be in the same outfit. So what I want to do is break down what motion capture is. And for me, motion capture is a method used to capture physical motions in order to be translated into a computer-generated 3D format. Once translated, the motions can then be used for multiple purposes without limitations, such as using the captured data combined with an alien's appearance as a character in a film, commercial, or video game. So motion capture is basically what it says. It's capturing the motion of a human being, taking that, putting it into a 3D format, in a digital 3D format, when then any animator or animators that are working on the project can then change my appearance. They can use my movement on a cat, they can use my movement on a dog, they can use my movement on a female, they can use my movement wherever they want without limitation. So that's what motion capture is, and I believe it's about making the work easier for the animator, because there's a lot of movement which is very challenging, which can be done hand animation, but if you have someone that is able to create the movement as much as close possible as reference, then it makes the work so much easier. So the dress code. So there's 3 specific dress codes, which I'm going to break down, which is mostly known throughout the industry. And the first one is the mocap studio suit. They don't actually have specific real names, but I call it mocap studio suit. This is the most common suit used in motion capture studios, and it tracks data via LED infrared cameras and reflective markers. Which this studio suit is what I'm going to focus on the most, because it's the one that you're going to use the most. Anybody that gets into motion capture, whether you're an animator, a video game director, or an actor, the most motion capture that you are going to be doing is going to be one in a studio in a suit similar to this. And as you can see, I've got 2 images up. I've got one at Target 3D Studio, and I've got one at M3CON Studio, who actually own most of the cameras that most studios actually use. So the second suit is the on-set motion capture suit. So as you can see, if I go back, you can see that there's quite a difference between the 2 suits. So this suit has markers that have ball-like shapes, and these ones are just particular shapes that are reference shapes. And these ones are created specifically for capturing stunts or an actor's performance on a feature film location set. So it could be feature film, it could be TV, anything that is live action. These are the type of suits that are for on location that get used. It tracks data similar to the studio suit, but via flat, sharp, black and white markers and using witness cameras. So going into it more, there is more witness cameras for a locational shoot, and when it's in a motion capture studio, you have specific cameras all set around you to pick up your data. The third suit, which is I call it the sensor suit, mocap suit, the known brand for this suit is XN, is the motion capture. The motion is captured by the sensors placed within the suit and transfers the data via a Wi-Fi Bluetooth setup, or also infrared. This means that capturing the motions of an individual is not subjected to a form of cameras or a specific location. So with this motion capture suit, it's more feasible. It's more feasible and it's more portable. So meaning, I could come to your house and do motion capture. I can be in the street and do motion capture. Whereas when it comes to the other motion captures, there's a limit on what you may be able to do. Whereas these suits allow you to be flexible, allows you to do a lot more. But at the same time, the data that you're going to get will still be very good, but the best data is going to come from a studio, because you're going to have about 50 to 60. Some studios have maybe about 80 to 100 cameras targeting at you in every single part of your body to create your skeleton. So the motion capture studio, and I'm going to focus on the motion capture studio suit. So if you look at this image, what you can see, I'm doing a T-pose. See, I've got images of the markers that are placed around my body. Now, the suits are specifically designed with Velcro material in order to have a number placed around the body. The placement of these markers help to create a computer-generated figure of the individual in the suit. So all of these markers, as you can see in the front, they'll be at the front and they'll be at the back, and they are all placed in specific areas to create a digital skeleton of your body, of your image. So that will be translated into the computer. Now, I'm going to go even further into the markers. But first of all, I'm going to tell you about the studio. Once the markers are placed in the right position, the individual is placed in the center of the capture volume, depending on the size of the studio. The individual may surround himself between 30 to 100 LED infrared motion capture cameras. Now, how the suit works is if you can look around, I've got my friend, this is my image of my friend Neil, who's a very close friend of mine that capture. These cameras you can see are shining, and what they are shining is infrared light. Now, these infrared lights, if you look at the markers on the body, the infrared light will go onto the markers, which are reflective markers, and bounce back into the system. So as you can see, this is a picture of what it looks like on a computer. The motions are captured from the reflective markers, reflecting the infrared signals back to the motion capture cameras. Once received by the cameras, the data is fed straight into a set of computers which are operated by qualified animators. So as you can see, if you look on the image on the left, you can see that the infrared light is beaming off. And if you look on the image on the right, you can see where the markers are, and the markers are reflecting back the image onto back into the cameras. And once it gets back into the cameras, this is what you'll be able to create. So once the data has been received on a computer, a digital 3D figure is created of the individual inside the volume. This now enables the individual's moves or performance to be captured, which then gives the animators the control to use the motion without limitation. So if you look on the image on the left, this is the type of image that you may get. And then what the animators will do is create an image similar to one on the right. You have various, but these are very generic. And with this is, as you can see, there's a skeleton, and the skeleton is created by all the markers that is placed in the body. And in the middle is what you can then do. So you can then now put a skin onto the motion capture. You can now then put more onto the image that has now been created in a digital format. So understanding of motion capture makes it very useful, because I believe if you're an actor, you should understand how everything is operating. You may not have to be an expert, on every single fine detail, but you should understand, because in motion capture, you have to have spatial awareness. Because if you're in a studio, if I go back to the image of the studio, as you can see, we're limited by space. Now, within this studio, there can be setups where, let's say we're talking about a video game, and let's just say that block right there that's behind my friend, that's a door reference. you have to understand that if you walk towards or through that door or go over that door or touch that, you're putting your hand through the door in the video game. So what you really want to do is have spatial awareness. You want to understand how the camera and how the movement work, because especially in video game when it comes to acting, some things maybe have to exaggerate it a little bit. Because if you watch cutscenes in a video game, and you know, when you talk to somebody, 9 times out of 10 you may not do a lot of hand movement. You might just be, you know, standing still with your hands by your side. You're not doing much. Now if you pitch that in a video game of two people talking and most of the time their hands are by the same, it doesn't really bring the character to life. So you have to learn about understanding their specific movements and subtleness that you have to add into motion capture acting in order to that to be translated into the digital format. And the thing is, the better you are as an actor, and within motion capture, one of the main things about motion to be physical, because there's two sides to motion capture. There's the motion capture where it's performance capture, which means you're using your fingers and your face, and there's motion capture, so you're just using your body. So if you think about stunts are basically doubles. So it's not about their face or their voice, whereas in full performance, it's about the finger movement, it's about the face. As you can see, my friend has the headgear. Now when it comes to performance capture, it's very similar to performing like in a theater or performing on set on camera. You understand what I'm saying? It's very, you can be the actor that you've been trained to be, you know, with the extra subtleness to be able to influence the movement, so that when it comes back on the digital side, there's more movement to add. Whereas when it's just plain motion capture and you want to do stuff like locomotion, meaning you're doing the character moves for like the bad characters in the game, or you know, if you play something like God of War and you see the monsters, they will have a locomotion. They walk a certain way, they walk back a certain way. Kratos, the character, the main character, walks a certain way, walks back a certain way. When it comes to motion capture, locomotion is very physical, and it's something where you have to have good fitness. So people always ask me, you know, what skills does it take to be into motion capture? And I will say to people that are trying to be a performer in motion capture is to be very fit, be very well fit, all-rounded fit. I'm not saying you have to be a super athlete, but you have to be well-rounded fit, because if you're doing locomotion and you end up in a studio by yourself, and I've done that many times, where it's just me in the studio, there's a long list of moves that I have to do: punches, kicks, attacks, deaths, hit reactions, falls, climbs, and I have to complete a whole list within that day, and I'm only getting a lunch break and there's no one to swap. That fitness is going to be the thing that keeps me through. And the more skills you have, the better your chances of getting work. So if you know, a lot of the things that I capture is weaponry. So if you think of games like GTA, Call of Duty, Ghost Recon, Resident Evil, a lot of games use weapons. So if you're good at weapons, at armory weapons, then that's a skill. And if you can do other stuff like Viking, sword fighting and everything, the more skills you have. I used to always be told being a jack of all trades was never good, but in motion capture, being a jack of all trades is one of the best things you can do to enhance your way of work. Now, what I'm going to go into is the side that enabled me to get more into motion capture, because like I said to people, I believe everybody has to find their niche when it comes to motion. Everybody, or anything that you're going to do, whether you're an animator, whether you're an actor, anything, the thing that's going to make people want to hire you as an asset. And I always tell people to, because when I came into motion capture, a lot of the people that were doing all the work, they could do what I do. And meaning, okay, they could do the locomotion. You know, you got people that can do gymnastics. You got people that can do martial arts. And the thing is, it's like, why should someone hire me over the people that they can normally get? Because in motion capture, it's much easier to just keep rehiring the same people, rather it is to get somebody new, to get somebody else and test them out. Because again, I can play a girl, I can play a boy, I can play an old person. It doesn't matter about skin color or anything on motion capture or so. So my selling point was recognizing that a lot of people do not focus on creature in motion capture. And when it comes to motion capture, focus on using specialized equipment to play creatures. So the practical effects props. So these are some of my props that you can see, and my image. The image that you can see is taken from some of the equipment that I've had made by my business partner for my company, Creature. The tail that you can see and the arm extensions are from my company. The digi legs are not from my company. And if you look in the images off the left, you can see what I have. I have a pair of digi legs. I have crutches. I have small arm extensions. I have the jump stilts on the top image. I have leg extensions, and I have my arm extension that can extend. So my selling point in motion capture was the fact that not only that I was a trained actor, not only can I do the generic stuff that motion capture can do, but what I also do is provide my own equipment to help play these type of creatures and characters. And there's a lot of creature work that goes on within motion capture because they want people to be able to create movement so that the animators can work on it. So I decided to create a company called Creature Bionics, which is developing specialized equipment for live action creature performance. And this is what's helped me to be able to get myself in the door and be able to use equipment to be able to play these characters. So Creature Bionics is a practical effects company that specialized equipment rigs for live action creature performance. And the prime objective of the company is to enhance how actors perform and appear as creatures, ranging from large mystical monsters to quadruped animals. Specialized equipment rigs which will increase an actor's ability to embody the creature's character, as well as create a better reference for other actors on set to work with. Now, why that's very important is because, yes, a film set, or especially a film set, because a motion capture studio, in a motion capture studio, of course, an animator can animate your movement to fit it to a rig that is different from your body, but it's extra work. So what I wanted to do is say, okay, what I can do is bring equipment that can be captured that helps to create and cut the work back by a good amount of percentage. So the main objective for me was two things. One, to enhance my performance as an actor, because I remember when I was being on the set for a film for the Eternals, and I was just in a blue suit, and I didn't have to have my equipment. I wasn't asked to buy equipment. And so, but because I bought my equipment, it enabled the VFX to capture better references. Because I bought my equipment, it enabled the other actors on set to have something to really reference. Because if I'm supposed to be, let's say, a four-legged or a six-legged creature, me being on my two legs, standing up as a human in a blue suit or a motion capture suit, may not give the actor that real response mechanism within them. But if you look at the image that you can see on the right, if I now have my long tail, my digi legs, and with these digi legs, you can see that they've been adapted. So we've adapted the digi legs from the last image. So I'll just show you that one more time. The image here, you can see the digi legs on my legs have been adapted to the ones here where they have more spring and percussion. So what this now enables me to do is to then create, not to help actors to have a better response. It enables me to feel even more less human when I'm playing my creature. And at the same time, it gives motion capture and it gives VFX a better reference to use when they're going to be now in post-production. Much more better than me just running around on my hands and legs, which would take away the body shape. So this is the breakdown about motion capture. Now, I want to go even more into more detail about how I become a creature for motion capture. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into a next slide. I'm Steph. I'm going to change slides. So with this part of the presentation, we'll break down creature acting for motion capture. So creature acting for me is, again, my main selling point. I want to break down how I get into a creature, and which is why this is very good, is because even if you are not an actor and you're an animator and that specializes in creature, some of the information that I'm going to give can help you to think about your creature when you're creating it. So we've already gone through the motion capture, how motion capture works. We're going to break down how I perform as a creature actor. So creature acting for motion capture, what I'm going to break down is creating the creature, becoming the creature, using performance equipment, and the difference between video games versus film acting for motion capture, which I kind of did explain on the last slideshow. I did kind of go into it a bit more about the difference between film acting and motion capture studio video game acting, which there is a difference, but the main difference is locomotion, which I will break down a little bit more. So creating the creature. So when it comes to creating a creature, and I believe even as an actor, for anything you do, these are some of the key things that you need to understand. But for a creature, and even as an animator, these are a couple that you should focus on. So it breaks down for 4 things for me. It's about psychology, physiology, story, and doing research. So psychology. Questions to think about is, what is the creature's purpose? What does the creature desire? What does the creature believe about itself, or is the creature thoughtless? So nothing in this world, universe, created without purpose. So what you want to do is, when you're creating a character as an animator or as an actor, you're being a playing a character, you want to know its purpose. What's its purpose? What here for? You know, if you think about somebody that doesn't have any purpose, they find it struggling on finding out what they want to do or what they're going to do. So knowing your creature's purpose helps you to create the physiology that your creature is going to have. So also, what does the creature desire? So what does the creature desire? Does the creating a that desires to turn back to human? Are you creating a creature that desires to human flesh? Are you creating a creature that's desired to take over the world? What is the creature's desire? It's mixed with the purpose, but purpose is like the ultimate force, the ultimate goal of what this creature is about. The desires is like the finer details of what they want. So if the creature's purpose was, the creature's purpose was to take over the planet. The creature's purpose was to take over the planet. The desire, what's the desire? Is how he's going to take over the planet. What else does he desire? Does he desire destroying the planet in a nasty way? Does he decide destroying the planet, becoming friends with people and then just turning them? That's what it's about. Now, another thing to think about the psychology is, what does the creature believe about itself, or is the creature thoughtless? Because that's also going to help. How does the creature think? Does the creature see itself as powerful? Does the creature see itself as weak? Does the creature see itself that it's just changed from a human form thing? How does it think about itself? Or is the creature thoughtless? Or is, like a computer is thoughtless, but it's programmed. It has a purpose. It has a computer has a purpose to do something. It has programs. So a creature can be thoughtless but still have a purpose. So that means that it might just act on reaction. If your character is thoughtless, it means it might just act on reaction. It responds to the environment. It reacts to the environment. So from that, you then want to go to, there's no particular order, but then you want to think about the story. What is the creature's role and what is its backstory? Again, knowing the creature's role and the creature's backstory is going to help you to create the psychology. So what's the creature's role? What does it want to do? What's it going to do? What's the backstory? Was it something that came from another planet? So if it came from another planet, what were the species like on that planet? Why did it come from the other planet? How old is the creature? How does the creature interact with human beings? So once you know the creature's backstory, you're able to help it work side and side and being able to give it purpose. Now, then it comes to the physiology. Now, there's 3 main things about the physiology of a creature, and it comes down to, how does it breathe? What is the creature's body mass? And how does the creature move? This is very, very important, especially with breathing. Breathing allows you to know what type of creature. So, prime example, if I was a creature that breathed like, there's a different psychology that you're going to give to your creature. Some people might think it's witty, it's fast. You might think zombie. Then if you change the breathing to slow and a slower breathing to that can turn around and make you think, okay, this creature's quite powerful. So the breathing enables you to think about what type of creature you are creating. What is a creature's body mass? So creature's body mass, that also is going to finding the creature's body mass can also determine the type of purpose your character is. So if it breathes big and slow, then that means the creature's body mass might be big. Because the reason why you're breathing in, that's because there's so much, the body is so big that oxygen needs to fill out the whole body. So it might need to be, the body mass needs to match the type of breathing. If it breathes fast and quick, if a big creature does that, it doesn't mean it's out of breath. But if a normal creature does that, normal smaller. Because if you think about the size of like a Tyrannosaurus Rex and the way that they move, when you look at the films people have animated, they move in a particular way and breathe in a particular way. You never hear a T-Rex go, no, it's never that. Even after it's just running, it still sounds strong and powerful. So breathing and the body mass. And then, of course, how does the creature move? The creature's locomotion is also very, very going to be very important about the structure of your creature. So if your creature walks with slow, heavy steps, that signifies something. If your creature walks with its head down and it moves its head quite witty and fast, that also signifies a type of creature. So knowing how the creature breathes, the first thing, once you know how your creature breathes, the physiology for that creature comes automatically. The physiology. So whenever I do class on creature performance and I get them to start working on their breathing, automatically their eyes change, their facial expression change, their body language change, because they're now embodying the breathing. And of course, the last thing is, and like I said, not in particular order, is research. Is there any reference that can be used to help understand and play this creature? So, if there's so many stuff that's already been put out there by so many other people, so many other productions, so many other video games, and there's nothing wrong with using reference. If you want to use something for dinosaurs, watch Jurassic Park. Look at what people have created. Use that reference. There is so much things that you can use. You want to make a animal that's four-legged. You can go on YouTube and look at lions. Maybe you want to have a lion's locomotion. Maybe you want to have a gorilla's locomotion. Use reference, because what reference does, it gives you ideas. It gives you ideas. You see something and you might say, you know what, I like that walk of the ape, but if I change the walk a bit half between how a lion walks and the ape walks, you've created something. So I would always say research. So the main 4 things about developing a character, again, is psychology, physiology, story, and research. But what I'm going to go on is developing the psychology. Again, is psychology, breath, idle, movement, and add creativity. So once you've decided the psychology, once you've decided the breath, once you've decided the idle stand still. How does it move? Now, this is a lot to do with video games. So idols, when you leave the control pad alone and the character is just there, that's the character's idol. It's just standing there. Or if you press R2 on a PlayStation control pad and it goes into its attack idol. So that's an idol. So what's your character's idol? Because that also signifies what type of presence your character has. Then 4, you have the movement. We discussed that. And 5, to me, 5 is probably one of the most important things, because it's about adding your creativity. So when you're creating your character, whether you're creating your character as an animator, as an artist, or as an actor, add your creativity. Add your creativity. Give your character that you touch. Give your character your essence. Think outside the box. I was told, don't think outside the box. Think without a box even being there, because this is what's going to signify who you are. Anyone that adds creativity to what they work in, people are able to recognize what they are doing. Yeah. So one more thing about being into creature is how to really become. And this is really 2 methods I believe that people use as actors. One is Method acting, to immerse yourself mentally, emotionally in becoming and existing as the character. Or 2, live in a moment, which is a spiritual practice. A spiritual practice where one lives and exists in the present moment, letting go of all thoughts in order to just be. So whenever I play a character, you have to remember, as an actor, you as the audience know I'm human. You know I am human, especially when I'm on set. Human. So for me to influence, my whole power of is to be able to influence your brain to visualize something else. And the only way your brain is going to visualize something else, the only way I can truly influence that thought path within you is to really immerse myself as the character. So when I play any type of character, I'm no longer Ace. I don't think about, oh, I'm Ace. I'm playing a creature. No, I am the creature. I'm that creature. Nothing else exists. This is what I am, and this is it. The way I breathe, the way I look at people, I think, the way I feel, it's all about being in that moment. And again, living in the moment is the same thing. It's about being in that moment. And when you're in the moment, if you think about, we're always in moments. We're always in the present. And when you're in the present moment, there's no thought of future. There's no thought of future. There's no thought of the past. In the moment. So when you decide to be a creature and you're in the moment, all you can do is be that type of thing I was explaining, thoughtless. You are just being, and you are reacting to your environment. You're responding to your environment. So for me, again, when I become a creature, and I've done this and I've practiced this when I do classes, and I talk about it first, then I become it. And you have people in the audience that will get scared when I become an ape or become a specific creature, even though they know I'm not going to hurt them. Of course, I'm not going to hurt them as a teacher. And of course, I am Ace, the living person in a human flesh. But because I am so indwelled into who I am being, their brain tries to figure it out, because the brain always tries to protect. For the brain to protect you, it tried to make sense of things. So when I'm being this creature, it's trying to make sense of what's really going on. So the importance of an actor is to become. And even for animators, I would say, as an animator creating something, also immerse yourself and learn to play that creature you're becoming. So, and that could be done in your own, because the more you can physically feel something related to what you're creating, it makes it easier for you to translate that into your work. Because if you think about something that you have no relation to, something that you have nothing in common with, it's harder to create. If you have nothing in common with it, you have nothing in relation to it, the best you can do is go off research. But if you decide as an animator to say, you know what, I'm creating this werewolf, and you know what, for the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes, I'm going to research about werewolf. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to practice. I'm going to walk around like a werewolf. I'm going to feel like a werewolf. I'm going to move like a werewolf. The more you do it, the more you become it, the more better work you're gonna create, and you're gonna be able to create that information and translate it onto a computer. So I would say, if you're an animator that creates characters, especially creatures, because of course, being human, we're all human. So if you're gonna create something that's a creature, a mystical creature, and the best thing about mystical creatures is that there's no right or wrong. You can be however you. But the best thing to get really into it is to live it, to breathe it, and to feel it. So yeah, that's my explanation when it comes to about forming as a creature actor, being involved, and that is understanding motion capture. And again, like I was saying, the difference between motion capture and video games is that in motion capture, you in film, a lot of the work is more about, it's all straight about the actor performance. If you're talking as an actor, there's no locomotion that you need to do on set, because there's a set, there's a set for you to walk through. There's a set. It's going to be all you. But now when you're doing a video game and you're not doing cutscenes and you're doing a character, a playable character or a nemesis character that's within the game, you now have to think about locomotion. Locomotion is understanding idles, understanding how your character runs, how does your character walk. You may not have to think that in depth when it comes to being on a film location, but the more you do on a film location, the better your work's going to be. But in a video game where you have to walk, you have to know your space, you have to create idle. And sometimes I've done video games where the animators have not created. They've got the image of the character, and they give me the image, and they want me to create different versions of how this character can move and how this. So sometimes you might end up doing a job where they've got the images and that's it, and they can't decide what they want to do. So what they're going to do is hire someone like me, or someone that's in creature movement, or someone that's a choreographer, someone that specializes in movement, and create. So I've done that for a game that hasn't come out yet, and it's a RPG game, and it was a quadruped character, and they just knew that they showed me the image, and they asked me to create walks. I create different walk cycles, different run cycles. I had to do different attacks for this creature, and that was based off my knowledge and my performance of being quadruped and using my equipment. So I hope with what I've explained that you guys get a better understanding about motion capture, and you guys get a better understanding about how it is to be a creature, and how to become, and how to animate perspective, or whether it is from an actor's perspective. So
Perfect. So we're going to have a break now and continue to the chat room. Great, perfect. It's great to be back. So can you write any questions now? And I wanted to as well as ask Ace for, let's say, when you're creating animations for game, is it typically right to create some creature artist, or you can, let's say, pretend to be anyone? So do you just specialize in creatures, or?
no, so I've done motion capture for normal characters, so generic human beings, soldiers, as well as doctors. I've played quite a lot of stuff, but my speciality is where I hone in on what I'm capable of doing is creature. And the reason why it is not big, and that doesn't say that I can't do the other job. I can, but because I love movement so much, and a lot of the times when it comes to the other characters, especially if we're talking about cutscene, then we're talking about, you're doing standard movement. Anyone's ever seen a cutscene in the game, it's just like you're doing an acting workshop. But apart from that, when it's within the locomotion, I've done locomotion for normal characters, for zombie characters, but creature is what I really embody the most at.
Okay, perfect. So can we go with the video that you have sent me? And afterwards, we're going to continue with the audience questions.
Okay, thank you.
Let me add the video.
Some of my work for the last probably about 5 years. I've been a motion capture for I've been a motion capture from 2014. But so from the last couple of years, this is something that I've done, and it's still not everything, because especially in motion capture, it's very hard to get the data. It's very hard to get the data, the behind the scenes data. And a lot of the time you have to go on YouTube and hope that, you know, your game has been put up there. So, you know, the studio might want me to have it, but you know, if Sony owns the copies to that, they're not going to give me the breakdown. So I've been lucky to work on some indie, and the indie projects, they're happy to let me have, you know, the footage. They're happy to let me have the animation. So what you're going to see is a cross between the two. Somewhere I've been able to have the animation and I'm put some side by side. Somewhere I've gone into YouTube and I've had to just rip it down and screen record in a video game and together.
Okay, perfect. So let's go with the video.
That will always be my best job because it was the first and it was the one that just showed me about motion capture and everything. The worst job, I don't know, worst job, or maybe like the most, what's the most boring job? I hope nobody that boring. Worst job. Worst job. I don't know if I have a worst job, but I can tell you complications I have had when it comes to complications. And the complications, I can tell you my toughest job, because I don't really have a worst job I can say, but my toughest job, or what makes it boring, is when you have to do the locomotion over and over and over and over again. And the problems that you face as well is that, especially with what I've noticed in what I've noticed in motion capture, a lot of people, not many people, have figured out how to animate with my equipment. So there's a lot of fault sometimes, especially with the XN suits. Find it harder because they haven't made sensors to probably attach to external equipment. Whereas with the motion capture markers, you can just put a marker on it and, you know, Velcro, and it's on it. So the most challenging things is probably some people find it hard to, like, I remember I was for Viacom, I done a live thing for them, and we had to spend a good amount of time, a good amount of hour or so animating to get the creature's arm length in length with my arm extension and stuff like that. And so when it comes to doing stuff with equipment, that's when it becomes more challenging and it becomes more of a tougher job. And that's where most of the faults are. Again, the mocap marker suits makes it easier because you put markers on there. But the XN suits, because you can have additional wire, but it doesn't pick it up the same. So I've done my own video game cinematic type of trailer, which hasn't been finished yet, but just trying to animate, and it was with an XN costume, just trying to animate my arm extensions, and when I was running and everything like that, it was the most like annoying thing, I would say.
Yes, definitely. But they have now new versions from the XN suit, and they have multiple props, but they're trying to upgrade it even more. So next I'm going to read question from K3, and then how hard is it to get out of the film suit?
Oh, how hard? It's not hard, you know. It's not hard. It's quite simple. If you're talking about film, it's if you're talking about the one that you saw me in, like, basically the all motion capture clothing are very tight, and it has to be very tight because it has to be very close to your skeleton. Because if it's flimsy, let's say this is quite loose and you've put a marker there, and this marker hits your shoulder and it's quite loose, then it's going to be out of sync with what your skeleton should be within the 3D format. So the suits are not a problem to put on and take off, but what they they get hot. They get real hot. So when I'm in, especially if I'm in a studio, and whenever, especially when it comes to playing like a character, because we're doing locomotion and you're the only person in the studio, you get sweaty within the first, I don't know, 5-10 minutes if you're doing like heavy movement, locomotion. But the film suits, they're more like the last time I wore. I can't remember the last time I wore film one, because so far I've been doing more of the blue suit, the effects, the referencing. But the suits, they're quite slim and thin, and they're not really challenging to take off. It's not like anything challenging to it.
So next one is from Comics. How did it feel to work for Marvel Studios? Was it cool?
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That was another pinnacle point, and I had to wait a while before I see, but now and everything, and I haven't really put out there online as much, but yeah, for me it was overwhelming, because I remember 2017, and I remember I was watching Spider-Man, and my eyes were all teary, because whenever I go to films, I go every week, and when I go films, I go to look about what I could be doing, where do I want to be, what do I want to do, and I felt overwhelmed watching Spider-Man. I said, I swear one day I'm gonna.
Okay, so we are back. So next question, what's the weirdest scene you have done, as in being awkward for you and the other actors? And as a follow-up, do you have ever feel embarrassed, weird, while recording a scene?
The most awkward, well, the most awkward that was inside, well, I think the most awkward one for me was on Marvel, and that scene that I was talking about is because I made the decision to make noise with the character, because of course they're not recording my sound. Like, basically they're just going to use my body and put the sound on and creature whatever, but I decided to make the sound. And when I was thinking about making the sound and making it, it was like oh boy, should I really do it? You know, again, I'm one of those people where I'm all in. So the most awkward would probably have been would have been that situation, like making sound of it. And even the head rub with the head rub with Alexander Skarsgård, at first you have that, oh, I'm rubbing, because it's like real cats. So, you know, when you're the two cats, they rub head like that. If you looked in the video, you saw how I was rubbing and everything, and I was rubbing him. And when I was rubbing him, I was like a cat, like, like I was probably like rubbing him. I was thinking about how much I miss you and I love you. Da, da, da. But then when you come out of it and you think about what you're doing, you're like, it's crazy. But yeah, that will probably be the most awkward inside. And when I say inside, is because I had these thoughts like, oh my god, this is what I'm about to do. Oh man. So I'll say the Tarzan rubbing their head with the guitar, and the time on the Marvel set when I started making a creature sound, and yeah, and I'm thinking, geez, is really gonna sound right, or is people gonna laugh and think, why is he making doesn't? So there's probably 2 times where I sat down and I had thought like, oh damn, should I really do it?
A very interesting story, really. Okay, so now we're going with the other question. Okay, we have from F. Jingova. Which mock-up performance done by other actors have impressed you the most? And in your opinion, should this kind of acting be recognized as separate discipline besides the traditional acting and be awarded like an Oscar category?
Yeah. So the my number one actor, Andy Serkis, is basic. I didn't know about Andy Serkis until Planet of the Apes, because I never watched the Lord of the Rings, which is probably a bad thing. I should have watched the Lord of the Rings, but it was from Andy Serkis when I found out about motion capture. And then when Planet of the Apes came out, I found out who played the ape, and it was Andy. And then I found out for me, he is the best in that field. There's him and there's Terry Notary, but the difference between Terry Notary and Andy Serkis is that with Andy Serkis, a lot of his parts he has speech. A lot of Terry Notary's roles are speechless, so it's just more about the acting of the physiology. Whereas when it comes to Andy, he has the physiology and the sound. And the thing is, he never trained as an actor. He never trained as an actor. So for the fact that he never trained as an actor and he can come into these characters so well, so deeply into it, and when you look at, and take away the animation, I mean, just when you're seeing behind the scenes and you're seeing him perform, because of course, listen, I could be a crap actor, and a good animator can make my work look so much better, even though it might be more work for them. They can still listen. They can make nothing. They can animate a creature without no motion capture, so they can make my work look 100 times greater. But when you take away behind the scenes and you go and watch Andy, and you put ankle weights on so he can walk like an ape, and the arm extensions, and his face is the best in my inspiration as an actor in for motion capture. And what was the other question? It was my best should be awarded. So that, like, I guess, so there's two things. I personally feel it's hard. The reason why I think it's hard, I personally feel yes, personally, but on a professional level, the reason why it's hard to award someone for motion capture is because you don't know how much work the animator had to put in. So even though the great performance, if I feel like if it is gonna be a award, it will have to be a joint award. So best performance as an actor, but it includes the animators that made that movement. So the animators get credit as well as the actor, because you can't, if you give Planets of the Apes an award for what's his name's acting, but you don't know how much more expression the animators put on that. There's been projects where actors have, the markers have been wrong in their face, and after the project, the animators themselves done. So how do you then give the actor an award, because you don't know how much extensive work the animator has to do? So I feel like, yes, there should be a category for best motion capture performance, but the motion capture performance should include the animation team that worked with it and the actor. That, best motion capture performance award. So if that motion capture was done by ILM, so it's a joint award. They both get both best motion performance capture. I believe something like that can be in its award, because you got stuff for best makeup, you got stuff for best stunt, not in the Oscars, but best stunt. You got stuff for best film. So you could have best motion, because you have video game as well. And with what people don't understand as well, with motion capture for video game, you're in a studio. Like, you're wearing that dotted outfit and you're supposed to be, you're supposed to be in a forest. Or like God of War, you're supposed to be in a time that never ever existed. And you're not seeing no rivers and no boats and no mountains in your little square block. You're just seeing that space in that same dotted outfit. So I feel that there could be an award. It would just have to be worded and titled correctly, and it can't just be of the actor's solely performance, because again, you just don't know how much work the animation done for that animation to work.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing such a passion, really, because as well as I have seen the videos and everything, and I would like to try it to let's say act for a game, even though we have now a project and also we have the X and suit, and it's amazing, but definitely I will need your tips for creating this project. So I'm going with the next question. Do you work closely with the animators, or you just do your part and then the rest they take care of?
Yeah, so I mostly do the work, and then they do the rest of the work. That is how it's been. I have done the only time I've worked more with an animator was when video game trailer, which I'm hoping that will be ready by summer, where we sat down and we worked. The only time I really worked with anime or the director of the animation director is when they're asking me to create the movement for them. So they're saying, okay, Ace, this is what our character looks like. This is the story of the character. Can you closely with them to create the move? But if you're talking in regards, okay, once they've done the animation, do I sit back and say, hey, that this should be there, that should be there? No, I haven't. I've never had to or had to have done that, and I would like to. But a lot of the animation is done in post, so it's done away. And a lot of the time, I'm a father of kids, and I have a family, and obviously I have other jobs. So, but on my own projects, which I am planning to do, my own full performance captured short film in a while, and I would sit there with the animator and look at what they've done and be like, okay, but can you make the walk a bit like this? It's different. If you create something, then you're going to be on the post-production side. But when you're just hired to be a performance, you normally won't get onto the post-production side. So unless it's your creation.
So we are going with the other question from 21. Okay, do you have any role you want to bring to life in the future, like the one you want to play the most in the world?
So, well, is there any role that I would like to? Oh, I'd love to be in God of War. That is, of all film-wise, Planet of the Apes. Film-wise, Planet of the Apes, I would definitely would be God of War. That would be my ultimate dream, because I have dream. You have dream things, and then you have your career goals. So my as an actor, I would love to be in Planet City. As a dream, I love to be in God of War, because God of War. I bought my PlayStation. I had Xbox, and I bought my PlayStation just for God of War. Just when they said it was coming out, I said yes. So if I could be in God of War, oh man, I'll be over the moon.
Yeah, definitely. I would like to be part of that game as well because it was when it was released, it was madness, really.
To me, it's my favorite game of all games, best platform game, and especially the latest one. There's no cutscenes; it's directly into it. The graphics, the animation, it's just amazing. Like when you work within the industry, you just appreciate things so much more. Like when I was on Marvel, you see how much people and on Tarzan, I didn't really speak to much people because I was first just getting involved and I was an extra. And there's a thing about when you was an extra, about talking to people. And then even when I upgraded, I didn't really talk to people that much. Maybe people from the stunt team because they're probably I felt like I could talk to them, but you couldn't talk to everyone. But on Marvel, I spoke to everyone. I spoke to special effects. I said, well, okay, why'd you do this? VFX. Okay, why'd you have the camera here? Why'd you have that spinning ball? I spoke to everybody because I want. And production is just seeing how much people work together. So when I play a game differently now. I sit there and watch the movement and think, oh my god, look at this. Okay, let me throw my like God of War. You know when you can throw the axe? I throw the axe. I tried to throw the axe down a hole and see if it will go through the wall and come back through the wall or not and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just the beauty of it. So to be on something like God of War, something that's been through my childhood, I've bought every single game. Whenever it comes out, I get them straight away. God of War would be my dream role in video game, and for Planet of the Apes, that would be my dream role as a on set film location.
Perfect. But because of the internet connection, we just can ask one more question. So this one is a little technical. How many cameras do you need for a poor man's mocap setup? Assume you have the space to set it up. What is the bare minimum to get motion capture data you can work with?
Ooh, it depends. I think I believe it really on the minimum I've ever seen in a studio. Minimum I've ever seen turned on in a studio, about 30 cameras. But that's not to say that you need 30 cameras, because the more cameras, of course, there's more chances of them picking up your move. Like and it depends on the level of space that you're using as well and what you're trying to achieve. So let's just say you're trying to achieve just idols, just the character standing still, turning on the spot and stuff like that. You only need a certain amount of cameras around you because you only need a small space. Now, the moment that you're now running and doing rolls and doing stuff, that's when you're going to have to start having more cameras. And I would say, personally, unless you have the budget to go and get them, you may as well just get an XN suit. The XN suit is actually excellent. The XN suit, again, like I said, I only had problems with the arm extension stuff. Got round to it. So, but the XN suit is great for people that have a smaller budget, and because there's a whole lot of not fees you don't have to pay. Like I've done a video game for a VR video game called Beast Shall Rise. That's not out yet. I can talk about it because there's nothing hidden about it. And it was one man with the suit, nobody else. When you go to a motion capture studio, there's a minimum of 3 people. I've never been to studio and on a project and seen less than 3 people. So if you're dealing with all of those cameras, you're going to need more people. So I would suggest, if you say, okay, what's the minimum? I believe you could probably motion capture stuff with 20 cameras. You probably can do it with 10 cameras, but it's about how much information you're going to film. So the minimum I've seen is 30 cameras. The maximum I've been in a studio, 86 cameras. Again, and it comes down to and sorry, when I say like 10 or 20, that's like a small space and one actor. You know, one actor. Because remember, you've got the reflective that's reflecting on them. So you don't want, you know, it reflects to one and it reflects to another and shoots back. So the more cameras you have, the more space you can have, the more actors you can have in the middle, because now the sensors are going to be reflecting. You've got more chances of different cameras hitting your body parts. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I would say my advice is, unless you've got the budget and you're saying, look, you want to create your studio, I would say a minimum, from what I've seen, I'm not an expert in it, so, you know, I could be wrong, but what I've seen, the smallest studio I've been to is probably Target 3D. And I think they've got about 40 cameras, but I know the smallest I've ever been to a studio, 30 to 40 cameras are on. That's it. That was it. But on average, every studio I've been to, like a proper studio, Imaginarium, Centroid, Audio Motion, when I've been there, they've got a minimum, and I'm just going off the top of my head by looking at the number, a minimum of 60 cameras. Just a minimum of 60 cameras. And I know each camera, the M3CON cameras on average run $8,000 per camera. So I would say, you know, the XN suits, unless you've got a big budget, which you might do, you know, if not, I say the XN suits can do the job for you just as much, you know, and it's cheaper and you can do it anyway. You don't have space, and then the cameras and then the technicians to also be there with you. So that's my from my knowledge, should I say.
Oh, so we have one more short question. We have to use all the time. What advice would you give to anyone that wants to start a career in motion capture, or anyone that is least wants to try this as an amateur?
Okay, so are we talking from an actor's perspective? Okay, I mean, for motion capture, as an actor in motion capture.
Yes.
So the best advice I can give to anybody is, I'll tell you the steps. One, this is the first one for me personally. First you need to know what you are going to be able to, because you have to think about, why should they hire you to do something and not hire the people that's been doing it for 10 years, 15 years, because they use the same people. I'm telling you, my friend Neil Newborn is one of the leading motion capture actors in the world, and he's been working non-stop. He just done Resident 3. He's the main character that's on the cover, and he played somebody else as well. He flies all over the world to do motion capture. So the thing is, it's like the market is so small. Richard Doughton, another person, for 20 years plus, and they're still using him. And the thing is, it's easier to use the same people in motion capture than it is to hire somebody. So I would say the first thing you want to figure out is, why do you want to do motion capture, and what can you offer that many people can't offer? And the reason why I say that's the reason why I'm deep in the creature stuff, because if I didn't get into the creature, all the stuff I'm doing, they could hire someone to do it. They could hire all the people that's been. I'm not a super specialist at gymnasts. I can do some gymnastic, acrobatic. I'm not a specialist with weapons. So basically, a majority of the games, they can just skin. It don't matter about a lot of things in motion capture. So my way in was the creature, and the fact that I had Legend of Tarzan behind me, the fact that I used equipment, the fact that I do tutorials. Like, I done so much outside work to get into the inside work. So I thought, okay, what can I offer? Okay, some people do creature in motion capture before me, but I'm like, okay, who really uses arm extensions apart from Andy Serkis and Terry Naughton? Who don't? Okay, is there tutorials online to how to be a zombie, an ape, and everything? Nope, nobody's doing that. Okay, so I'm gonna do that. So I done so much stuff that no one wasn't doing, or people were groundwork. So when someone comes to me and says, okay, we're going to hire Ace, well, you know what? Ace can do all the normal stuff in motion capture, But guess what? He can do creature. He's got credits and this and that. And guess what? We don't even have to hire equipment or have to exaggerate his body, because Ace comes with a package of bringing equipment as well. So I would say you have to know why you want to do it. Yeah, more than just, hey, I just want to be, because it's like any process, you know. I feel like it's for anything. So if I'm going on, it's for anything, you know. If you want to jump straight into the animation world and everything, you know, why should ILM hire you? You know, whatever, you know what I'm saying, unless they need extra numbers, or why? So with motion capture, it's so small. It is so small. So I would say first find your niche, find what you can do that other people are really doing or not doing. So again, that's why I developed my own equipment, and I offer more than the average person. So you might offer this actor 500 for the day, and then what? When you offer me 500 for the day, guess what? I extensions. Guess what? I've got 10. I actually have 10 pair of arm extensions, and I can bring 10 people that I've trained, or I can train them, bring arm extensions, 10 people, so we can all be. So it's about what can you offer that other people can't as much. Once you've kind of figured out, okay, you know, what you can do and what is your life, it's then to do training. And I would say do some of the motion capture courses. The motion capture course that I'm a part of, that I'm a mentor, is the Performance Capture Academy, which is UK based. It's supposed to be going to America. There's also the mocap Volts. There is also, the mocap Volts and the Motion Capture Academy. They're basically the two main motion capture courses. I'm speaking from UK, and in America, it's the mocap Volts. So do a course, and I'd advise everyone now, please do courses in motion capture if you are not in a suit or in a studio. Because what people like to do is they like to scandal people and be like say for me right now, I'm running a arm extensions. I don't say motion capture creature class, because I'm not trying to, I say movement for creature. Because what people do, and some people have, I don't want to say, people will say for motion capture, but you're not in a studio. So you've paid your money, and you're not getting no animation, you're not getting no recorded of your animation, you're not understanding studio space, you're not understanding locomotion, you're not understanding how the work feels, you're not putting on the headgear. In the mocap Volts, in our Performance Capture Academy, which is run by Neil, you are in the studio. You are doing locomotion. You are understanding space. You are getting animation, and also Target 3D do, of course. You are also getting footage with your animation. If there is nothing that is doing that for you, please do not buy into anything that says motion capture. So I would say do a motion capture course. Motion capture course costs roughly around $250 to $350 to $400 a day. It depends, because there's a lot. When you go to mocap studio, there's animators that need to be paid, the studio hire, the costumes, and all of that. So do a course. Once you've done a course, what you now can do, you've got your skill set. What you should do is email places or contact places and for free. I came up by my very first, outside of, forget Legend of Tarzan, because that I classed as my first mocap job, but my really inside motion capture, meaning I was wearing a studio suit, because the first time I'd done motion capture was the reference suit. I put a audition online about performance of it was for, what's the film called? It's lost my mind, but it was a robot film. I can't remember. It's robots, these big robots, not Transformers, the other one. And it was for me to do an audition of being a robot that gets infected by an alien virus and turns into a creature. I put that online. Then Portsmouth University got contacted here, and I done work for free for their students, and that's how I build my resume, and that's how I build footage. So I would say, know what you want to do a course, because you can study it. It makes it easier for when you go into a shoot. You know what I'm saying? Because you can, if you're an actor, there are some jobs on, very varied jobs. There are very little on Spotlight. And Jessica Jeffries is the first casting director for motion capture. She does do or put out jobs. But I would say do a course, know what you want, do a course, then contact everywhere that has motion capture studios and say, hey, can you use me as a demo? Because studios do demos. So sometimes, let's just say Stefan wanted to hire a studio. He's going to go to the studios to see, okay, which studio should I use? And then they might get actors to come in and show what they can do. And they do it for free. It's a demo. So you're just there demoing. And what that does, that helps you build a name with the studio. Contact studios and say, hey, I would like to help the students, or I'd like to do some demos. And from that, and then find a way to create content that helps you to stay. So when I say that, on LinkedIn, I use LinkedIn a lot, and that's how me and Stefan connected. I use LinkedIn a lot, and I use that platform to create content to push out my work and keeping it going. So when I look on LinkedIn, I don't see many actors doing things to help themselves get work. They just post their show reel. They just post, a shot from the game. Where I will post, creature references for animators. So what I want to do is produce work that helps animators do their work. So when they turn around and say, hey, we need someone that can do creature. Oh, you know what? Let's get Ace, So I would say once you've done that, if the studios are not getting back to you and not saying, yeah, come and do some stuff for us, don't get disheartened. Turn around and say, okay, how can I make myself an asset to make them come to me? So use a platform, add everybody, add all the studios, add everybody that does VFX, and create content that allows them to see what you're doing, but helps them to do their work. So therefore, your word gets around. Because I can tell you now, a lot of my work has come from LinkedIn. A lot of my motion capture work has come from LinkedIn because of the stuff I create. So sorry to go so long on it. It's just I'm very passionate about that, know what you want to do. Once you do that, do some training. Once you do some training, offer your time for free. While you're offering your time for free, turn around and say, you know what, I'm going to create content that wants to do. And like I said, the best skills are the more physical you are, weapon work, armory work, creature work, acrobatic work. The more you can do, the more people can say, yeah, I can hire that person to do this. Because I've done games where I've played 4 characters. I done one at the game on my reel where, it's like all these different creatures. I done 4 creatures and 2 humans on one game. So when they see that you can do variable stuff, you're more likely to be hired.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing the passion, and also as well that works in life. Yeah, even though when you have more networking, and you'll have even more better chances to get into the industry as well. So that's a life advice. And also I have one more question. It was sent on.
I don't mind, man. I'm cool, man. I ain't going nowhere. It's lockdown.
So it's from Chris. How different is to act for a real life game compared to creatures-based games? And are you willing to work on a basketball or any other sports game?
Yeah, so like the difference between working on a real life, obviously the motion capture is the same. The difference is the amount of energy I have to put in to create the better data for creature, because we're humans, so it's not that harder. It's easier for us to connect with other human beings to play someone. If you guys right now wanted to be a soldier, you can go on YouTube right now and look at how to handle a weapon. There will be plenty of videos. You don't even have to, there's people that look at your academy that you for yourself, Stefan. People out there that help other people to do what they do on a human to human basis. But when there's creatures, there's not much of it out there. So, and because there's not much of it out there, you have to put in way more energy playing a creature, especially, if you're doing a real ape, you getting things wrong makes the animation harder. So you have to put more energy and more effort, more background work when it comes to playing something that is not got the same human skeleton. So so human work is much easier because we're humans. We can learn, we can learn anything. Right now, I could show you how to handle a weapon, and to someone that's not from the army, you probably might think I know how to handle a weapon. But then an army person might say, well, the way his shoulder was and the way he grips the fingers, he can clock that out. So it's easier to do the human stuff than it is to do the creature stuff. And that. And what was the other part? It was what was the other part to the question? There. Oh, would I do something? I would do anything in mode. I can play basketball. I'm not the greatest in the world, but I would do things. I'm not a liar. If I can't do something, I will refer somebody else to do. So yeah, I'll do sports. I'll do sports stuff. I would love to do like even a martial arts. My background is Muay Thai, so I knew I won't do Bruce Lee moves, but if you give me someone that does Muay Thai moves, I'm open to do. I haven't done sports motion capture yet, so I'm open to whatever is possible. But I'm a realist. I wouldn't take on something and believe that I can 100% do it. If there was a sports game that was coming up and I put myself down for it, I'm gonna go do some sports training for as long as I can before I get to. So, but yeah, I'm open to doing everything. It's just that my passion is I just love playing creatures. Like I do silly stuff at home, walk around with and chase after my children, and to me that's my training, because that's the way I keep up. So that's just my main passion. But yeah, I'm open to do anything. Listen, I'll be happy to be in Ghost Recon and play one of the soldiers, because I play Ghost Recon a lot. So yeah, I'm open to everything. Skill to be able to do it.
Perfect. It was nice talking to you, Ace, as well as I have shared your LinkedIn account to the chat, and you can reach him there. And probably in the future we can do something together, like a mini course, so the audience can have even deeper understanding into the motion capture. So thanks, Ace.
Now, thank you guys, and thank you for everyone that tuned in and listened to me and listened to what I'm saying. Again, everything that I'm telling you, I always tell people, just take a pinch of salt, because my experience is my experience. I can't tell you this is everything and this is the right way. My experience, and I don't want to come across as somebody that feels like they know it all. I'm always still learning. But this is my experience. This is what I know. And if you're going to take anything from what I said, people, just think about yourself as an asset, and think about, if you want someone to invest in you, what can you do to make yourself a bigger asset? Don't try to. I tried to knock on everybody's doors, on Centroid, everybody's doors. Like, that's what everybody else is doing. So instead, I said, what can I do to make Centroid say we want to hire him, to make Marvel say we want to hire him, because they're going to get emails all the time. Stefan, I'm sure you get emails all the time. So it's about, okay, that court step. What can you do to make Stefan catch your eye? What can you do to make the people you want to hire you to catch your eye? And the moment you focus on that and you find that niche and you make yourself an asset, because you are an asset, because people are going to pay you to do something. That's a form of investment. I'm putting money. You're like a stock. I'm putting money in you to one day be able to do something for me. So see yourself as an asset. See yourself as somebody. What can you do to make yourself? Love the work you do and love who you are. And the reason why I say that is because the more you have belief in yourself, it is easier to then perform something. If you don't have belief in yourself, then how are you going to exercise 100% of best effort? You understand what I'm saying? If you don't believe in what you are doing, then you're not going to exercise 100%. So because I believe in what I'm doing, and don't get twisted, I do get this. I've had times when my friends are running and I'm like, why am I not there? How come they're on the job? Why am I not there? And I say to myself, Ace, don't worry. Time will come. And I was saying that before, and then I got Marvel out of nowhere. A phone call on Friday, on the studio on a Monday. So, but I had belief in myself, and I said, Ace, don't worry, your time will come. And I made myself an asset during this time. Right now, we're in quarantine, guys. While you're in isolation, if your country, what can you be doing right now? Come out of quarantine, boom, you're on fire. You're on a ball fire. While everybody else is just chilling out and complaining about, oh, I can't do this and do that. you're doing the groundwork. So when you come out in the next 1 month, 2 months, however long, you're just a raging fire. So I would say, please take that from me. And again, thank you guys for your time, man. And thank you, Stefan, for having me be a part of this. And I really appreciate it.
Grace, thank you, Ace, again. So we're going to continue now to the live scene, and we're going to make a short break.
Okay, perfect. So I'm glad that we have Ace. Unfortunately, his internet is very low because of the overload in his country. But let's hope for next year that he will show up on the conference if we organize it again. So thanks again for stepping by. But for next week, we will have our also before our student, and now he is our instructor to the academy. I will show his now his poster. So let me know if you have any other questions. So I will be happy to send it to Ace if you want any image. News source. Perfect. Thank you for the compliments. So next we will have. So we have Andrei Smilchevsky. He is a ZBrush artist and also as well instructor to our academy. He's going to show us how he will. Also thanks Smil. He is now in the chat. He will show us how to clean the scans into ZBrush as well as to use them into film or games. That will be 7 p.m. 14th of April. Perfect. So next one will be Nikola Damyanov, lead game artist from Nordeus. He is working with Substance Designer as well as from many titles. He will be joining us. He was on 23rd April. He's as well amazing artist. He has more than I don't know. I think 8 years of experience or 10. But mostly what I was impressed from him that he refused a job at Blizzard. So nobody is doing that really these days or have the chance. And next we'll have Marko Chulev. He's a model supervisor in Industrial Light and Magic. He'll do as well as ZBrush workshop for character likeness workflow. He'll be on 28th of April. Basically, he is based in Vancouver and he's from Macedonia. So as well, we'll have one more hometown artist. Perfect. So thanks for joining and see you next time. Bye.